Dear CFA candidates, let's start learning the first rule today. It is called the knowledge of the law. The point here is, we need to know the legal system. And what is the scope I shall know. Points 1 and 2 are about this problem. Points 3 and 4 tell me that since I want to know the system of laws and regulations. How well shall I know? Okay. Let's look at it one by one. The first one is very clear. The laws and regulations you need to know. It is only related to your major. For a very simple example. You are a financial practitioner. Are you going to be an expert on marriage law? Do I need to know how bigamy is defined? Obviously. It doesn't seem necessary. Of course. We shouldn't try to get to the point here. For example, as a CFA, I am now helping clients with investment and financial management. And the customer encounter a major life event. Not marriage, but divorce. In the process of divorce, I need to know what a couple's joint property is. I need to know how the couple's joint property is roughly distributed. Right? In this case, I may have to check the marriage law. That's what you should know. Some content related to your major. You have to find out. This is the first point. Some people say that the mentioned example is too extreme. If I am now working in an investment bank, what is the laws and regulations related to my major? The securities law, company law, etc. Do I have to memorize these laws? This is definitely not the case. Let me give you another example. You are now working in an investment bank. As you know, there are many investment banks. This department, for example, the underwriting and issuing department of securities, also has commercial business. If you are an employee in a commercial business, let me ask, do you think you need to know the laws and regulations in the so-called securities underwriting? You only have to know the one related to the work you are currently engaged in. So you just need to know the laws and regulations related to commercial business. These two examples are combined. I believe you should be able to understand. So, what about the second point of the scope? Well, it looks at a geographical range. So what does that mean? That is to say, you may go to other countries to do business. Then the law you have to abide by is of the country or region involved in the business. You have to abide by their laws and regulations. Let's take a very simple example. Your company is registered in country A and has developed an investment product. But your company wants to sell the product to country B, obviously. In the process of practicing, you don't just have to abide by the laws and regulations of your country. You have to follow the place of sale. That is the legal system of country B. What about here? At the same time, I would like to remind you that because country B is a relatively strange foreign country, besides laws and regulations, it actually has some local religions. You should also pay attention to culture. To comply, you can't go against it. Such like selling beef products to India where cow is sacred. It is obviously inappropriate. The next. You want to start your business in country B. It is very likely that you will hire some local staff, a third-party organization to help you to sell locally. So, you need to know the legal system. Let's take a look at the third point. But, at what level do you need to know? As we all know, the association's guidelines affirming that CFA do not require us to become legal experts in this field. But at least you can't be an outlaw. Some people may say that I have just mentioned in the first point. For professional-related laws and regulations, we need to know. Does that mean the laws and regulations related to my work and major? I have to be an expert. Well, The association did not make this relevant requirement. The truth is simple. Because in reality, generally, in large financial institutions, it has internal legal and compliance departments. You can consult them. You should focus more on the major of finance. So what's next? Let's take another look at a very interesting thing. Actually, our code also said one word. It is called should know. What it means? Let me put it another way. You can't use ignorance as a shield. I don't know about this, so I did it. You can't say that. Because some things are common sense. Let me give you an example. You went to a supermarket, took something and walked out without any payment. You cannot say that nobody told you before. That you should make payment before you leave the supermarket. That's obviously the wrong way. In reality, when the system of laws and regulations is updated, you have to make sure that you follow the updated version of laws and regulations. So about these 4 points, I should say that this example is very thorough. There should be no big problem with knowledge of the law. Naturally, there is a logical problem. There are so many laws and regulations. In other words, our CFA Code of Conduct may be specific to certain matters. It may be different. Or provisions on a certain matter. Its strictness is different. So in this case, what should we do? Our CFA Code of Conduct is contained in Clause 1A. It is very clear. You must observe the most restrictive. Then let me give you 2 small examples. If you understand, I think there must be no problem in dealing with the exam. Let's look at the first example. The investment manager works in a company which is registered in country A. And the legal system of country A is more relaxed than CFA's Code of Conduct. Does the manager just follow the CFA Code of Conduct? Wait a minute. The manager did not work in country A. He went to work in country B. Then I tell you that the legal system of country B is more restrictive than the Code of Conduct of CFA. Draw a picture in your mind right away. It turns out that country B is stricter than CFA codes and code is stricter than country A. Which one should the manager obey in the end? It's simple. Obviously, the manager should abide by the most restrictive one. Then someone might still be confused. Let me take the second example just now. We also use such a manager. He is a CFA holder. Now let me tell you the company where the manager works. Country B. But I tell you that the legal system of country B is very loose. It is more relaxed than country A. We all abide by A or B? Obviously. Obey B. Although A is stricter than B. But you only has to follow the local legal system. So, in principle, the manager should abide by the legal system of country B. But I'll keep telling you. The legal system of country B is looser than the Code of Conduct of CFA. Then don't forget. What should the manager do in the end? The manager should eventually have to comply with the CFA Code of Conduct. So such a logic doesn't sound so complicated. Once you understand the above 2 examples, I think there must be no problem in dealing with the exam. Finally, let me remind you that if the test is simple, it's like what I just dictated. It directly tells you that it is stricter than B. But sometimes, it may be through some specific story cases. You have to judge what is stricter. If an investment manager is a CFA holder and works in a country where insider trading is allowed. Although the legal system of country A says that insider trading is okay. But as a CFA holder, the manager must abide by his professional ethics. He must not engage in insider trading. So when you listen to this example, it should be able to roughly get. So speaking of this example, you will find that, in fact, what we call ethics. This topic is not difficult. The key lies in your reading comprehension. I think there should be no problem in dealing with the exam. This is my second point about law. What about the third point? You may know and obey the law well. But you now find that others are breaking the law. What do you want to do? Let's look at its central idea. The central idea is that you should draw a clear line from the illegal act you found. According to our guidelines, the original text uses one word. It's called dissociation. What is it? As long as you make sure that you are completely separated from the illegal act you find, you have not violated this rule. Well, about this central idea, I want to express a few ideas. For example, I clearly found that someone broke the law. Do I need to report to the relevant department? Do you need to report to the police station? Our guidelines do not say that you have an obligation to report this matter to the relevant departments. In other words, if you don't report, you didn't break the rule. Can I report it? Of course. As a citizen, you can report it. You have the right to report. But you didn't report or say you were wrong. Okay. This is the first point. What about the second one? I'll go further. If you find that person breaking the law. But what about that man? He is also a CFA holder. So I haven't reported it to the relevant department now. Do I need to report to the CFA Association? The reason is the same as before. If you don't report to the CFA Association, you haven't violated the rules. But the CFA Association, after all, it wants to say, establish your professional image. If you find that the CFA holder has such an illegal act, you shall report to the CFA Association. Is this the same as the department just reported? The truth is the same. I hope you can remember this. It's in the exam, it says. Because I didn't report it. So I violated it. Then this option is definitely wrong. Then let's look at the second point. We just said, you should be completely separated from the site of the violation you have found. What is separation? I gave you a few examples. This is what is called disengagement. For example, hey, you do some research with others. And then came out a research report. As you know, in reality, the last thing is to sign your names. If you suddenly found out that there is big mistake that you disagree with in the whole report. So in this case, what will you do? You can't sign the report. You shall remove your name. This is called disengagement. Because your name is on it. Although you said, oh, I am standing upright. Under these circumstances, I made the right thing. But if you think about when this report shows to the world, you are co-authors. Therefore, it gives others the feeling that you are also involved. Go inside such a thing. So when we say disengagement, we don't just mean that we have to completely separate ourselves from the so-called illegal thing and make people feel that you have completely separated from him. This is called a fundamental logic of being removed from serving the country. Of course, there is another kind. For example, you can ask to transfer from your current position.